Hi, good morning, good morning, good morning. How is everyone doing? It is so wonderful to see you. Today's an exciting day for me, so I'm going to be trying to jump through hoops. And you might find me a little flustered, but that's okay. We're real on this show, so don't worry about me at all. It's never really about me. Good morning, good morning. Once again, my name is Zoe Baraka. It is so good to see you. Big sis Elsie, I see you. I see you. How are you doing? Good to see you, my line producer, all the way from Toronto, Canada. My name is Zoe Baraka. As I was trying to say before, I'm coming to you live on the Dear Daughter page, and the show is To My Younger Self, where we tell stories from our past that will propel us into the future. Okay, as always, we like to greet each other in our local dialect. Did you guys hear me say local? Anyway, in our local dialect, in our African languages, in our native tongue, because that's just who we are. And so, bear with me as I greet everyone from all across the continent of Africa. For those of you in Burkina Faso, we always say Bella in Moshi, Baraka da Zua in Hausa, Ken Ken, Toma Toma, Wella, Toma Awela. All of these Kasal, that is my native tongue. That is why I pretend to be a little well versed in those. To post a winam baraka. Le'anwane, that's how the Frafra said. How are you? Ndinawo. Wezo. Ojeko from the Garland of Ghana. Ekabo, that's what the Yoruba say. Nabata, that's what the Igbo say. Etiseng Akwaba. Of course, that's Chi and Akan. Karibu sana habari gani. Meba in Wolof Akeyi in Creole. Now Mai in Maori. And of course, Welena. Welcome. How are you doing? Listen, as always, I do not see you. Do me a favor. Go into the comment section. Say hello. Say what's up. Reach out to me in whatever language you want to reach out to me. Say something nice. Is it morning? Is it afternoon? Is it evening? Is it good night where you are in the continent of Africa? And of course, if you're not African, do not feel left out. We love you still, and come in and join us and learn something from our continent, okay? I'm very excited today because I feel like I've come full circle a little bit. I'm excited because I am, what should I call it? I am hosting a very important personality on the continent of Africa. This man is so important because he has covered a lot of important news happenings in the continent of Africa. He has held some amazing, very, very heavy positions, and he still manages to be so humble. I actually did not even have the pleasure of knowing this amazing man until maybe 3 weeks or to a month ago. And I already feel like I've known him for decades. Like I grew up in his house or maybe the next door to him. He is one of those people that you just actually no, let me rephrase that. You don't take to him, he takes to you so easily. So the love is so evident, you can't do anything but to receive it. I remember when I tried to call him the first time, I was nervous, really nervous. And he just made me feel like, oh, that's like my uncle, he's my uncle next door. I am talking a lot, but can I please, in all of my excitement, introduce you to the person I call my uncle, Ben Dotsei Malor. Now, if you grew up in Africa in maybe the late 80s or, early 90s, and, you're walking past someone who had one of those flashlight radios, you might have heard, wafting through into your ears, BBC playing somewhere, and you would hear this name. My name is Ben Dotsei Malor, reporting from wherever he was reporting for, or saying focus on Africa or Network Africa, and some other things. Let me read a little. Let me tell you a little bit about Uncle Ben Dotsei Malor. He doesn't want me to say a lot, but I think he's being humble, so he's gonna probably kill me. That's okay. Uncle Ben is currently the chief editor for UN News at the UN headquarters in New York. And before joining the UN, he was the deputy editor of BBC's Focus on Africa and a popular voice on several BBC programs like Network Africa, Africa Live, Fast Track Africa, and of course, Postmark Africa. And he's always telling people that he is a village boy from, or he's a village boy who, and Grace has just located him. He tries to tell people that, he sold fish, for his mom when he was young. He helped her cultivate cassava and maize and sweet potato, okra, beans, and granite. He was just the boy that helped mama when, you just need help. And, he attended Ketasco, which is Keta Secondary School. Keta is a very beautiful town in the Volta region of Ghana, and also Mawuli Secondary School. And then, of course, he went off to University of Ghana, where he did his national service, and then got a scholarship to go to the University of Glasgow in Scotland. I mean, of course he would. He is that smart. And so he did his master's degree in information technology. Uncle Ben also served as a presidential spokesperson and a director of communications for President John Mahama of Ghana when he was president. And of course, he always tells people this is one of the most important things he wants everyone to know. He is a striving Christian who believes firmly that loving your neighbor as yourself and doing unto others as you would have them do is what Christians should strive to always live. Please, I am too excited. I want all of you to just go into the comment section. Please, please, please say welcome to this amazing, fantastic, now my uncle. A lot of people call him Efo and all kinds of other words of endearment, but he is just my Uncle Ben. Please help me introduce to you Uncle Ben Dotsei Malor. Hello.
Barka da zuwa.
Barka da zuwa, barka da zuwa. Welcome, welcome. Uncle Ben, the floor is yours.
Oh my goodness. With that introduction, Zoe, I felt like running away from the computer when you went on saying all the things about me. But I want to thank you. Thank you. You're doing a marvelous job. You have this presence. You have this. You are a connector. And you are a connector. You may not be aware yourself, but I've watched a few of the shows you've done, and I want to commend you and pray that what you're doing may start little, but may it grow bigger. I thank God for you.
Amen.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Wow.
Yeah.
The floor is yours, Uncle.
Thank you. I know I want to share several lessons, but let me warn you, I have a weakness. It's a weakness of talking too much. And sometimes I forget the clock. And I excuse it by saying that if you find me here today talking too much, please, Ralia Sorogo, LC. All right. So if you find me talking too much, blame it on the BBC because the BBC paid me to talk. So when I get the chance to talk, I talk and talk and talk, thinking somebody's going to pay me at the end of the day. But
so, we pay you with love over here for now, at least.
I receive it and I am grateful. So I want to say one thing. So at the beginning of the show, you do something that is wonderful. You pick up these languages from all the places, and it's so endearing. And I hear my own language in there. It just means that some of your viewers or listeners who do not hear this may be feeling left out, but you just invite them to say that. And I used to do that a lot when I was at the BBC.
Really? Look at
that. In actual fact, I carried it even to the United Nations.
Wow.
You know, like you meet a Zambian, and when I meet a Zambian, I try and pick up two words. Like Zambians taught me the word Natotera. It's from one of the languages in Zambia. And I don't know if that means hello or thank you. So all languages, when I meet a Filipino, I ask and they will tell you how to say salamat, which is thank you, or how to say hello. So I just want to say that it is excellent to reach out the way you are doing. And if I have to say something to my younger self, yes, master as many languages as you can, but reach out in a genuine way. And I want to give you one example. I know that the Igbos in Nigeria will say Kedu. And I used to say that a lot when I meet Igbos, not knowing that when I say this to Nigerians, the Igbos, they look at my physique, they look at my face and everything, and they become very convinced that I must be a Nigerian and Igbo.
Wow.
Yeah. So when I say Kedu, they will say Odemma. And then, so because I picked up this, and then they will go deeper and take me to the bottom of the sea, so to speak.
Wow.
To the point where at the BBC, there was an Igbo woman in the canteen, and I would exchange this. And when she goes deeper, speaking other things, asking about the family in Igbo, then I would come out and say, I'm sorry, I don't speak the language. And she got upset.
Oh, no.
And she said, oh, you, these younger Igbo people, you come to London and you think that your language is not worthy enough for you to. And she really got upset because she was convinced by my look, by the tone. And I said the greeting so perfectly that for me to turn around and say, oh, I can't speak anything beyond Kedu. It took one of my colleagues, Bola, who is a Nigerian Yoruba, who went to the canteen to tell her that Ben is actually Ghanaian.
Oh,
He just, yeah, she was genuinely offended that I could speak the first few words so fluently, but I couldn't. and so that is just one thing about reaching out. And I'm going to use that to tell one of my first stories.
Okay.
I left the BBC in January 2003 because the United Nations offered me a job. And then when I came to the United Nations, it was wonderful that a fellow Ghanaian was in charge of the United Nations as Secretary General. For me, it was a source of silent, dignified pride and encouragement that there is a Ghanaian in charge of this global organization. The flip side is it means you as a Ghanaian in the UN, you have to work extra hard. You have to keep a good attitude because if you misbehaved, then it's reflected poorly on the Secretary General. So it was a blessing that came with a responsibility. And when I came from the BBC to the UN, I organized an interview with the Secretary General. And so Mr. Kofi Annan came to the studio. I don't know if you have that photo to show.
Yes, let me pull it up as you're talking. We'll pull it up. Yes.
So Mr. Kofi Annan, this is the first time I'm going to meet him in person. He came to the TV studio. And just as you have been trying to do now, speaking the languages of the other people, I immediately, when I shook his hand, I started saying, oh, Nana Akwaba.
Wow.
Which is, yes, this is the picture. Nana Akwaba means elder or chief or king, welcome. Just as I was saying that, trying to not endear myself to him, but trying to speak the little tree that I could speak, he looked at me and he asked me, which part of Ghana are you from? I said, I'm Ewe. And he said, Afwan. And Afwan, and he said it so perfectly. And then he added Aleke. And he said, Aleke means, how are you doing? And so here were two Ghanaians at the United Nations. One is the big boss. One is the little kid on the block now. I am trying to speak his language in Tree. And at the same time, he's not responding in Tree. He is asking me and speaking Ewe. It was one of the most, this photo you see, and you had security detail and other people around him, and they didn't know what was happening in that moment.
Oh my God.
And that over there with Mr. Annan is one of the endearing moments I've had coming to work at the UN. Of course, from here, I went on, sat down with him, and we had a great interview. where he spoke about the need for African leaders to play their part.
Mm.
I just want to give you that show story about reaching out to other people, uh, and, and
Wow.
and and also sometimes being mistaken if you speak the other language too well. They would ask you, "How did you know?" And I was
Yes.
mentioning Zambians. When I meet Zambians, I said, "Oh, are you from Lusaka?" And they will say, "Yeah." How do you know? Then I said, "Oh, I grew up in Ndola." And then they freak out because they will say, how do you know about Ndola? And I said, "Oh, my mother came from Kitwe." And I'm just joking because from the BBC, it's like you meet somebody and they don't just know your capital city, they know other big towns, smaller towns, and that brings a connection. So I'm just saying what you do at the beginning of the program, whether you say Kedu or you say
Mm-hmm.
Habari. And
Mm.
for the South Africans, they will say
Habari
Dumela.
gani?
They will say
Yes.
Dumela or Sao Bonani. You
Wow.
know,
Now I'm learning.
yes, you can say Dumela or
Mm.
Sao Bonani.
Mm.
And then which takes me to maybe my second story.
Mm.
Um, in 1996, I was at the BBC sent to South Africa to go and cover what was the African Cup of Nations.
Wow.
And when I was there, South Africa played Ghana in the semifinals,
Mm.
and the Ghana Black Stars did not do too well, and they got beaten by the host nation, South Africa, 3-1, I think.
Oh my
And,
God.
and I was feeling a bit peeved, but I had to do my BBC work and report in an impartial way. Anyway, I was in Johannesburg, and then South African Broadcasting Corporation Television invited me to come and give some remarks and analyze what had happened the day before. How come the Ghanaians got beaten by the South Africans? So I dressed up. I had a kente vest, which I
Mm-hmm.
wore over my shirt, and I was in the green room. And ahead of me was this famous South African, Hugh Masekela. He was on the TV set being interviewed about something. So I waited in the green room. The moment he finished, they came and escorted me as they were escorted him out. And on the way, he just took one good look at my kente. He said, "Look, is that kente real or is this one of those fake ones from Malaysia or China?" And I'm thinking, so immediately he connected. I didn't even know uh, he knew about kente. And I said,
Mm-hmm.
"Look, if you wait for me, I will come back and give you the vest and you can check it for yourself that it is real." So Hugh Masekela, instead of being escorted to go to his car and leave, he waited in the green room, and I went on TV, South African broadcast, and I was asked about the match, and I was being gracious and said, "Look, the Black Stars had won the African Cup before. They just came to dash it to the South Africans, and we joked and we laughed. Um, but inside, I was actually a bit upset that the Black Stars got beaten." So I came out of the TV set, and there in the green room, I carried my recorder with me. As a
Mm.
broadcaster, you always carry a recorder. These days, our smartphones have recorders, and I
Mm-hmm.
could have interviewed him on my smartphone. And so I sat down with Hugh Masekela in this green room of South African Broadcasting Corporation in Johannesburg.
Mm.
And he started speaking pidgin. He said, "Chief, how you doing now? How you?" And I'm wondering, how does this man know? And pardon my limited knowledge, I had a fantastic interview on the spot, unscripted with Hugh Masekela.
Wow.
And Hugh Masekela said, "Look, yesterday when the boys were playing, it was so painful for me." And I'm thinking, "You are South African, you beat us. Why is it so painful for me?" And then he said, "Oh, you know, I am a Ghanaian." And I thought he was joking. He said, "Look, I'm carrying a Ghanaian passport. I may be South African, but I'm carrying a Ghanaian passport." Then Hugh Masekela went on in that uh, television green room in Johannesburg. He said, "Look, I used to have a house in Kokomlemle." And I'm thinking, this South African guy, I know you to be a top jazz trumpeter. Not knowing Hugh Masekela, even at that time, was married to an
Yes.
Ewe woman, I think Sister Elinam,
Mm-hmm.
from Ghana.
Yes.
From my ethnic group, but Ghanaian all the same. And Hugh Masekela told me how first he had a Liberian passport and they wouldn't renew it. and Ghana gave him a passport. And he was proud. So he was saying when the two sides were playing, he was praying that they would just draw. They would not beat each other.
Oh.
So that was Hugh Masekela. We have this wonderful thing. He gave me a great interview. He told me about his time in Ghana, how he played with Hejule Sounds, and he brought Hejule Sounds from Accra to the United States. But he threw in one or two things because he was peeved that many members of the band, when they came to America, they refused to go back.
Yes.
That's another story. And so,
wow.
That I just want to connect that it is good to reach out. By reaching out, good things can happen.
Wow.
And before I go on, let me just mention, you gave all these lofty descriptions of me. And
lofty. I was being humble a little bit because you told me not to go too far.
I thought you would just introduce me with one sentence.
No.
But, I forgive you, Zoe.
Thank you. Thank you, Uncle Ben.
So I just need to share a few things about myself quickly. Okay. First of all, I lost my dad when I was 8 years old.
Wow.
And number two, because of that, my mom was the one who really brought me up. My widowed mom, many things. My dad had clout. He was known around the villages. So he had a name, and I lived off that name because I would visit another village nearby. They would say, "Oh, are you this man's child?" And then people would treat us well. My mom also, because she had triplets, my mom carried this title around the neighborhood. They called her Tona, which meant mother of triplets. And the belief among my people is that if you are a mother of twins or triplets, you must be carrying something special, a blessing, for God to give you not just one child, but to give you 2 or 3 children.
Wow.
In fact, they believe that you should have some healing power. So, for example, when school children went and played football and sprained their ankles and all that, there is a tradition in my place that if they could carry them early in the morning before they greeted anybody at dawn, they would bring them to my mom. And without speaking to anyone, my mom will use shea butter from the north of Ghana. And she did basically what I would call massage or some physical therapy. But people believe that if she laid hands on these broken parts, then you will be healed. So sometimes we had an agri college. We still have an agri college in my village. Some of the students will go and play football and somebody is sprained, and they also believed, and they will bring the people about 4 or 5 a.m. and my mom will use shea butter and just basically touch those places. And so that's what I want to say about my mom as well. But one quick thing, I realize we have just 7 more minutes.
No, we're good, Uncle Ben. We're good. Keep going.
I've been talking, but one thing I want to say, Zoe, I tried to help my mom. I saw that, look, everybody had a mother and a father, but this woman, she had fish, and there was no younger person to help her. So she didn't force me, but I just decided I would be selling the fish, sell it quickly in the morning, then come back, have a shower, and go to the school, which was just across the road from our house. So I took to that, and it was wonderful to go sell the fish in 3 villages. From Ohavu, I would walk to Amanu, which is like 1.5 miles away. From Amanu, there is another town called Huti. I will go there quickly and do that. And the good thing, 2 good things, you will see other parents trying to use my example to say, "Oh, don't you see Dotsei is doing so well? Wow. You should also try and be like this." So that also gave me an impetus to continue to do that. And number 2, when you came back with money, usually people will come to my mom and buy the fish. It's like the mountain going to Muhammad. So I would take fish to the people. The only thing my mom wouldn't let me do is to sell it on credit, because So people had to pay cash. In fact,
Mm.
when a child approaches you, you can't ask the child for credit. So
Yes.
I would sell the fish, bring the money quickly, and then have a shower. Sometimes I came a bit late, so I would get to the school and I would get punished with a
Oh.
cane because you are not supposed to be late. I was a late comer. So I love to do these things for my mom. And then, and I'm just saying, you have a photo of my mom, but my mom,
Yes. Let
uh,
me pull it up as you're talking, Uncle. Yes, go ahead.
this woman was the greatest influence on me. She was kind. She was hardworking. When my dad
Mm.
died when I was 8, my mom just took over his lands and she was farming the lands. That's how I ended up knowing how to plant cassava, how to plant beans, uh,
Mm-hmm.
even maize. The main crop over there in Ohabu was cassava.
Uncle Ben, do you see the picture?
Go back. It was there a moment
Okay.
ago, and
There
I
you go.
there's my mom.
Okay.
Thank you.
Wow.
Um,
Wow. So pretty. Wow.
yes, that's the mother of triplets, and so
Wow.
and beyond my mom, I just want to say to anybody, to my younger self, to your
Mm.
younger self, everything good you see about me,
Mm.
everything notable you see around me,
Wow.
anything worthwhile you see through me is all down to Almighty God. I want to
Mm.
mention that because if it had not been for God, here was the child of a widowed woman in the village selling
Mm.
fish.
Mm.
And I could sell fish without my schoolmates teasing me because by God's grace, I was topping the class in primary school. So you couldn't tease me. If you tease me, I will continue to sell the fish and come academically and beat you as well. So those things, if I had not been doing well in class, and the thing that the tradition where I'm coming from is that it's usually girls who sew things.
Mm.
We the boys, you will go with
You
a
never
hoe
did.
and go to the
Yes.
farm, or you go
Yes.
carry concrete blocks
Yes.
and help and all that. And so I just want to mention these things. And one more story. I did well in the common entrance exam.
Mm.
My mom, her duty was just go to school. She didn't bother to check whether you were first or second. So when you came back and said, "Mom, I'm first." In fact, I did so well in class 1 that they did something that time. They jumped me. So instead of me going to class 2, I was in class 2 for 2 days, and then the head teacher came. The head teacher was called Mr. D'Souza. He said, "You are going to go to class 3."
Oh,
And I,
for
yes,
days.
I
Wow.
I topped class 1, and I don't know whether I was just older than the people in class 1. So they jumped me from class 1. I didn't do class 2, and I was feeling
Uh-huh.
cheated. And then I went to class 3. I had to work hard to catch up, and then I caught up by class 4. I was beginning to top the class again, and by God's grace, all by God's grace. Um, but I would tell my younger self, yes, number one, have big dreams.
Mm. Mm.
Number two, reach out to more to people. Go out of yourself to reach out to people. Um, and number three, God is at the center of it all. My faith in Christ has been a principal thing. My mom could look after me when I was around at home in Ohavu, but beyond Ohavu, I needed Christ. I needed God who watches over all of us, whose eye is on the sparrow, to really take me beyond what my mom could provide.
Mm.
And that's how I became a born again Christian later on at the University of Ghana. And there is one thing this woman told me. First, and I think I'll conclude with this. I did a.
No, more stories.
You want more stories?
Yes.
Your viewers are getting tired of my voice.
No, no, no. Do you want to see? Do you want to see something here? Let
They are
me
going
show
to.
you.
They are going to
Not
forgive me.
tired. Listen to what Udana says. Uncle Ben, the 30 minutes on this show is purely Ghanaian 30 minutes. And I think the world loves our 30 minutes. Please don't hold back anything.
This is not Ghana man time, please.
Yes. Auntie Doris
Ghanaian
says
30 minutes. But you
Ghanaian
know, one
30
thing
minutes
you're
truly.
punctual. You start right on time. So let me
Yeah.
give you two more stories.
Okay.
When I passed the common entrance exam,
Mm.
There was an agricultural officer in Ohavu called Mr. Eric Lavoin.
Mm.
Mr. Lavoin was somebody who lived in a bungalow in the section of the village where they build what they call quarters.
Yes.
And the only thing I knew was this man, next to his bungalow was a standing pipe where we could get clean water. So we in the real village will walk like several meters and go to the pipe in front of his house, tiptoe, because we didn't want to make noise and disturb him, and we'll fetch water to bring home.
Wow.
But Mr. Lavoin was working at the Crops Research Institute. In fact, there were 3 agricultural entities that my great-grandparents, grandfathers gave the land for. So you had an agri college in the village, you had a Crops Research Institute, and you had a state farm in Ohavu. State farm produced fowls for sale and eggs and cattle. And then the students came from all over Ghana to attend agri college. Anyway, Mr. Lavoin found out because the results from the common entrance exams, they pass through the Crop Research Institute. It's like care of Crop Research Institute, Ohavu. And so he knew that these little children who come and trek here and walk 2 miles to Bokuva Middle School, that I had passed the exam. So he was there one day and I passed the exam. My mom didn't quite know what to do about it. I had chosen Bishop Herman College, which was over 100 kilometers. We are in the south of the Volta region. Bishop Herman was further up north. And so Mr. Lavoie came and said, "Oh, Donna, how are you preparing to send this young man to college?" And my mom said, "Look, you know his dad is gone. I'm the only one farming and trading to look at them. College matter is money matter." I'm translating from the Ewe.
Yes.
College
Can you say it?
Yes, college Ganya, which means college matter is money matter. And my mom had good reason, because when you send your child to college, the fees alone could leave the family in debt for a long time.
Yeah.
So my mom was quite helpless. She wasn't thinking about. So Mr. Lavoie listened to my mom. When he came, my mom was in this thatch roof kitchen. Smoke was coming out of the kitchen. Mr. Lavoie held on to the door frame of the kitchen and was talking to my mom. And for 30 minutes, this man listened to my mom. He didn't dismiss my mom's fear and all that. Mr. Lavoie told my mom, "Look, I am looking after my niece and my nephew in college, in secondary school in Keta. Keta is nearer to Ohavu, and you probably must have a few relatives in Keta. So if Pando is too far," in fact, my mom justified her concerns by saying, "Look, if he goes to Pando and he falls sick, maybe he catches malaria, how am I going to travel all this way? I don't know anybody in Pando."
Wow.
So left to my mom alone, in her lack of knowledge, I would have stayed at home, or I would have completed middle school and become a pupil teacher or something. Mr. Lavoie stepped in, listened to my mom, assured my mom that she can send this child to school, because he, Lavoie, is currently, or was currently at that time, looking after 2 of his relatives in Keta Secondary School. So Mr. Lavoie also told my mom how much he, Lavoie, was earning. You know, people don't tell you their salaries.
Yes.
Mr. Lavoie now told me, he told my mom, "Look, I'm earning like, for example, 50 cedis a month. I supplement this by growing okra and a few things around my bungalow. And I am able to use that to send Dr. Koshinaza and this other person to Keta Secondary School. So I am encouraging you, you can do it. By the way, I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to change Bishop Herman, which is far away, for him to go to Keta Secondary School. And number 2, yes, I know you're a widow. If you hit a roadblock and you need money, come to me and I will assist you."
Wow.
Yeah. Later on, the 2 of them, after I've gone through the BBC and come back, they were joking to say, even though I pledged to pay some of the fees, you never came to me. And they laughed about it. And I know my mom wouldn't go. My mom is this proud Anglon Ewe woman.
Yes, you could
Uh,
see regal on her. Yes.
yes, she is dignified. She said she wouldn't want anybody's money, so one day they would insult her and said, if it had not been for me paying the school fees, you would have been in debt. So my
Mm.
mom, like many women of that caliber, forgive me, I'm going to say something that may not be politically correct. Today, people talk about slave queens and all these things. My mom, if you want to talk about proper slave queen,
She's original.
original, who did not depend on another person, who was not asking
Mm.
for somebody to give them money for a wig and all that. My mom's pride and the women of that generation of that time, and many women today, they would rather fend for themselves than be
Yes.
dependent on somebody.
Yes.
And I really love my mom for that. And
Mm.
quickly, I think we've done 35 minutes. I have to watch out.
Keep
The
going,
day,
Uncle.
so eventually, I was going to go to Kitasco.
Mm.
There is a lesson my mom gave me, which has stayed with me till now.
Wow.
The thing I remember about that day, we didn't have money to buy a chop box. So my mom found the local village carpenter, gave the carpenter some old wood that my dad left around. And so we didn't buy the wood. They took some old things. It's like going to the scrapyard. Will this piece of wood work? They took it to the carpenter and he did some kind of chop box for me. We didn't have, you're supposed to bring a lantern. We didn't have money for a lantern. So the old lantern that was there, one of my sisters called Ami. Ami took the old lantern, removed what we call the chimney, and then they used ash and lemon, and she scrubbed this whole thing, and suddenly the old lantern became as new, except for a few dents. If you looked at it from afar, you thought I went and bought it in Akachi market. Then they took one of the old buckets. We didn't have money to buy a bucket. They took one of the old buckets, and again they applied ash. My sister Ami, hectic, applied this ash and lemon, and suddenly I had a brand new bucket, silver, gleaming, and I was ready to go. The day I was leaving, it was raining. Unfortunately, my mom had a boil on her thigh. So my mom, it was a sad moment because she was unwell and I was leaving. And I don't recall if she cried, but she was lying on the mat in the bedroom when I came to tell her I was leaving. And she told me this one thing. She said, okay, she gave me 50 cedis. The money I was given to go to Kita Secondary School, I don't want to tell you the year, you think I'm a very old boy. 50 cedis. That was what I was supposed to take and pay part of my school fees out of it. 50 cedis. And then I carried all these old things that have been renewed. It's like Jesus comes and renews our lives. Old things have become new. And I was leaving. Then my mom said, Zoe, listen to this. They said, I know you are growing. You are going to this school. You're going to be a day student staying with your auntie Novievo in Kejikopa. I'm giving you this money. You know your dad is dead. I am carrying you on my shoulders. Look at this imagery. I'm carrying you on my shoulders. When you go, you need to study hard, but don't go and carry somebody else on your shoulders and become my burden. What my mom was saying is, don't go fooling around, get a girlfriend and make somebody pregnant. And that image, anytime I would admire the girls from afar, I would write love letters in Kitasco, but I didn't have money to go near them. And I kept remembering, don't go and carry somebody else on your shoulders. I am carrying you on your shoulders. So those are the stories of my mom, who has been a father and a mother. And I did well in Kitasco after 2 years. First, I was among first 10. I could never get the first or second position. There were two guys, very strong guys. And then I was getting bursaries. And in the third year, I was given a scholarship. So I went to the boarding school and I learned a few things by being in the boarding school that I couldn't learn by being a day student. So I want to end with this because, first of all, glory to God. in the boarding school, I want to say to my younger self and anybody younger, you need friends.
Yes.
You need friends, and not just friends, but good friends. I listened to Bishop T.D. Jakes in a clip that Komla Dumont shared with me.
Wow. As you're doing that, let me pull up that very touching picture that I know. Yes. Go
Oh,
ahead.
Komla Dumont and I became brothers,
Mm,
but we didn't realize the intensity of the brotherhood we had.
mm.
And so usually when we meet, whether in London, he came to the US and all that, we didn't take too many pictures. If somebody is close to you, you didn't bother. Like if I meet Zoe, we wouldn't say, we think we are there forever. So this
Yes.
is one of the rare photos. And
Wow.
Komla sent me this clip from Bishop T.D. Jakes, where Bishop T.D. Jakes spoke about the people around you. You need friends who are comrades,
Mm.
constituents, and confidants.
Yes.
And he said the confidant is this person who knows everything about you but still loves you and cares about you.
Mm.
And Bishop T.D. Jakes goes on to say, if you are in the jailhouse, they will come after you in the jailhouse. If you are in the drug house, they will come wherever you are, and you could be yourself in the presence of these people.
Mm.
If you have 2 or 3 people in your life, then you are blessed. And then he gave the story that a confidant, if you are a David and you are going to be king of Israel, you need a Jonathan.
Come on.
Yeah. It's a bit like if you are uh, a Ruth who is going
Mm.
to be someone great, I guess you need your Naomi.
Yes.
So we all need somebody. And so Komla sent this clip. If you Google and you look for TD Jakes and confidants, comrades, and constituents, it said some people will come to you and be friendly with you because you both are against somebody.
Yes.
The moment that against is gone, then they are free to leave. Don't feel that they've abandoned you and you begin to respond to them in a nasty way.
Mm.
He said some people are around you as constituents and they are just the scaffolding that is over there for the building. Once the building is done, they must go away.
Mm.
But I mentioned this because when I went to boarding school, and I will say this for the next minute and I will stop. You need good friends. You need good friends because in the boarding house, I learned to study as I watched other people who are coming from great homes in the boarding school. Then I learned from them. I learned to tie my tie, how to do your tie. I learned it from a friend. My mom didn't teach me. My teachers didn't teach me. So
Mm.
it takes some good friends. I was doing well in mathematics, but I became very good in mathematics because one of the friends in the school called Innocent Wanya is now a bishop with Bishop Ajinasare. Innocent Wanya said, Ben, when we go for the long vacation, the way I managed to, because I went to him, how come you are scoring 94, 95, and I am in 80, 87? And he was kind enough to say, during the long vacation before we leave, I go to the school library and I pick up a mathematics textbook. Don't go for the British ones because they don't have answers in the back. Go for the American ones. When they pose a question, the answers will be in the back. So when I go home, I will be practicing and checking the answer with mine. So he taught me how to learn mathematics.
Mm.
Before we realized, I became very good in mathematics among the top 3 or 4, 5. Another friend called Thomas Kwajovia, he's now in Canada. He went to Legon, Cambridge, and then another university in Canada. He taught me how to learn French. Right now in the UN, I want to master French. But the French I learned from Kitasco, Thomas Kojovia told me, I asked him, Thomas, you got 98, you got 99, but I got 64. How did you do it? He said, look, the textbook, we had a textbook called Pierre A. Sedou.
Oh, wow.
Pierre Sedou. We just say Pierre Sedou. He said, oh, when we finish in the afternoon and I go home, I go and sit in the sand on the beach and I memorize the French text. And I'm thinking, you memorize it? He said, yeah, that's how I learned it. That's how I'm. So I too, I learned from this friend. And so I would go home and I'm repeating this French and I'm memorizing whatever I'm reading. And before long, I also became very good. So I'm
Wow.
saying this to say you need good friends. And if you are going to be King David, you need a Jonathan in the
Mm,
palace.
mm.
A village boy like me without shoes and selling fish, farming cassava. If you're going to go far, you need somebody. If you had time, I would have told you more stories.
We have time, Uncle Ben. We
Oh my goodness.
we definitely scheduled an hour for you. We're here for it. Please, audience, can you let him know that? Come on, put it in the comment
Oh my
section.
goodness.
We are
I am
here for
conscious.
you. We came here for it. Come on, I know you're
My
watching.
goodness.
Ralia, go in there and say it. Yidana, I know you're here for it. Sedi, I see you.
Oh,
Elsie,
I thought we would do just 30 minutes.
I see you, Auntie Esther. I see you.
Oh
In
my
fact, she
goodness.
says that she remembers Pierre Sadu. She even wrote it in the comment section.
Oh, okay. Esther Bole Odamting.
Yes. Sister Tandiwe says,
Kandiwe
please carry
Mr.
on.
Adiwe Siabonga.
Yeah. Oh, look at
Okay.
that.
Siabonga is thank you in Zulu. Okay, so uh,
She says, Sedi says, Uncle Ben Doche, please don't stop, Sia. Rita,
ah goodness.
Rita Kakari Premper says, we are here for it.
Okay.
I'm telling you, everyone is here for it. Let's go.
Okay. I've been ambushed.
Yes, I
It
told
seems
you.
it seems the vote is against me. By the way, Sedi's father was 1 year ahead of me in Kitasco. I
Wow.
haven't met Sedi, but the father was he had a guy named called Pronto. I'm just doing connections because
Right.
Elsie's mom, I saw Elsie was showing off her 3 mothers, how she had 4 mothers and blah blah blah. All those 4 women came from Kitasco. Elsie and all the
Amazing.
children need to pay me, those of us from Kitasco. They owe Kitasco. Okay. So let me just mention one last story.
Okay.
It's about how we must learn to respond and not react to situations that come our way.
Mm.
I want to share this story because there was a time if there was the word depression and I was depressed, I was discouraged, and I was in despair. It happened at a time, maybe around 2000, 2001, when I was at the BBC.
Mm.
I considered myself as a hard worker, number one, as somebody who connected very well with my colleagues. I overlooked faults and mistakes and offenses. And I felt I was good enough. I was a senior producer at the BBC. And an opening came up for somebody to be promoted to the position of deputy editor
Mm.
to my boss at the time called Robin White.
Mm.
I applied and something dramatic happened. Initially, they said the position will be open temporarily for 6 months.
Mm.
So they interviewed 6 of us for the temporary position. Out of the 6 of us, they couldn't choose one person. And the panel decided they would choose 3 people who would take turns after 2 months to test the job. And guess where your brother found himself? I was not among the elected 3. I was among the rejected 3.
What?
Yes. And I was going to church. I was serving in my church in Camberwell. And I started thinking, you mean even in this place, I am not good enough to be, even if not the top, I am not among the top 3. And I felt, so I kept thinking, how do I move away from the BBC? There is no future here. And I was feeling down. But look, in your low moments, I would appeal to you to do what I did. I threw myself more at God.
Mm.
Um, I served more in the church. I went to prayer meetings more, not because I want to drown myself in sorrow. I needed strength.
Mm.
I needed my faith to be revived. They would declare a fast for the church. When they break the fast, I would, for myself, add a day or two or three and just go plead with God, hear my case and do something. And I was praying and praying. So three of my good colleagues, friends, they tested, they were officer in charge 2 months each. And after the 6 months, they now said, we will open up the place now for a permanent job. Still, people need to apply. And so there was a Sierra Leonean sister who was also rejected with me. I went and talked to him and said, hey, sister, they've opened up the place again. Let's go. And she said, Ben, you know, I am older now. You, the younger ones, you go and try. She didn't want to try. But because of the moments of prayer, fasting, and everything, God gave me this faith and I went again.
Wow.
So I applied again, even though I knew that there were clearly, humanly speaking, three people in front of me. I applied. When I applied, it's like God says, you take the step of faith and I will do the rest. So I was praying, I was preparing, but this time I prepared. And there was this mentor of mine in the BBC when he heard I was going. His name was Neil. I can mention his name. Neil found me one day. He said, I hear you've applied again for this job. And I said, yes. And Neil said, you know, Ben, I've been to Ghana, Nigeria, and you Ghanaians, you don't like looking people in the face. It's a cultural thing. But when you go to this interview, you must stand like an eagle and you must make eye contact. This is something to my younger self. It's important in Western culture when you're dealing with people. Back home, we avoid eye contact with the elders or anybody, and we don't look them in the eye. Over here, if you do that, it is interpreted that you are unreliable and you are shifty. So so Neil told me these things, and he kind of practiced with me, and I did all these things. In the end, for this new position, you had to do an aptitude test. And then you had to write an essay. Then they had to examine some psychological things. And then I faced this interview panel of 4 white people, 1 woman and 2 men. And again, there were about 7 people who now applied. And I had nothing to lose. In primary school, I remember, he that is down need fear no fall.
Yes.
Okay. So
wow.
I just have this faith to say, what is it they can do? They can just tell me again, I'm a reject. But I've been rejected once, and God gave me strength to come back and try again. So I went there prepared, and I did everything. Did 3 different types of tests, including an interview. And I was praying, I was fasting. I remember the day I went for the interview, I was still fasting, which I wouldn't recommend now. I think if you need energy. So fast till the day before. On the day you are going, at least have something in your stomach. Otherwise, you will go and faint in front of the interview, which will not be good. Long and short of it is this, Zoe. I was rejected 6 months before.
Wow.
Others have been before me. The day of the interview, I left work from the BBC. I was just in my study, taking off my jacket when my phone rang, and it was the head of the panel. And I begged him to wait because I was taking my jacket off. I did. And then he said, Ben, you got the job. So from a reject 6 months ago, praying, fasting, preparing, and trying again. That is why I believe very strongly that faith means that you must try again. I don't know, maybe somebody here, maybe watching, they may have been rejected or they tried a business that didn't work. But if the whole thing is sound, you have what it takes. So he said, Ben, we like everything about you. Above all, you have energy and enthusiasm. And so you're going to be the deputy editor, but don't tell anybody yet.
Wow.
because the ones who didn't get the job, we need to contact them and speak to them and let them know. And so I had to just tell my wife that this is what has happened. And we screamed, we went down on our knees, we prayed and thanked God. And I want to say something to you. I tell people in my church that even if they had told me that, Ben, you came third or fourth, I will still be testifying now and telling you God moved me from the back of the line.
Brought you forward.
Fourth. I'm not last any longer. But for God to take the glory, right? God didn't move me from position number 6 to 5 or 5 to 4 or 4 to 3. God had to take me from the back of the queue so that when I'm here telling you this testimony, you wouldn't say, oh, this guy was brilliant. No, 6 months ago, I was a reject. And then suddenly 6 months later, with the reject tag boldly written on my back, I dared by faith in Jesus to try again. And God honored my step of faith, and I became deputy editor. A lot of things happened. It shook the place. It shook the place in ways that I cannot publicly express here. But here is the one last thing. During the time when I was low, when I thought my world had crashed in and I had no future with the BBC, where would I go? Shall I go back to Ghana? You're just debating these things. A Muslim woman in my team at Network Africa called Kadria Ahmed. Kadria, she and I, we were working on a night shift, which is Network Africa. You come in 10 p.m., you prepare until 3 a.m., you start broadcasting to Africa. Kadria, one of the evenings, I had gone and brought tea or coffee from the canteen for everybody. He said, oh, Ben, so they didn't give you this job. She felt bad for me that I, who works hard, gets on well with people, I wasn't almost automatically selected. She was really, and then she said, oh, by the way, I saw something in New York at the UN radio. It is too high for me because I'm just a producer. You're a senior producer. You should try it. And I told her, look, I'm nursing my wounds from the last reject. I am not ready to try something again to be rejected. But this Muslim sister, she insisted. So it's like she told me on a Monday and I wasn't paying attention. And I think by Thursday, he said, oh, have you put your name on that form? I said, you know, I'm not interested. I'm trying to figure out. He said, just do it. And she came to my screen at the BBC, opened the place, practically forced me to put my name there on some form at the UN. That is how my journey from the BBC to the UN started. It started at a low moment when I was down and I didn't know where to go. I felt my hard work was not recognized. In the low moment, that is when God stepped in and opened a door at the UN. And God didn't use somebody from my ethnic group, somebody from Ghana, or some. God used a Muslim sister, Kadria Ahmed. She's now a big shot running her own media empire in Nigeria. In actual fact, if you Google her name, you will see her interviewing President Buhari and all the night. She's a success. And I just want to say that the blessing that God will bless you may not necessarily come from somebody from your faith or somebody from your country or your. That's why I don't believe in tribes, because you limit yourself when you are thinking in terms of your ethnic group. You limit yourself when you think in terms of, oh, Ghanaian. Some of the people who have blessed me are non-Ghanaians. And Bishop T.D. Jakes will say that, look, there is a coat of many colors. If you're a Joseph, a coat of many colors means people will come from India, China, Europe. Wow. God will use these people to bless you. So there are many lessons in there. I got this job as deputy editor at Focus on Africa. The United Nations took a long time. Now I am trying to act my job as the second in command at Focus on Africa. And one day, over a year, I had forgotten that I did this thing Kadria made me do. In fact, if somebody is going to make you do things against your will, may they make you do good things
Yes.
that will bear fruit later on. And after 1 year, then somebody called. I got a call and said, "Oh, this is Ransford Klein Thomas from the United Nations. You know the job you applied for?" I said, "Which job?" And I was driving. I was somewhere near Regent Street in London, and I was in my car. So I told him, "Do you mind? Let me take your number. I will call you in an hour." So I quickly drove from Regent Street to my home somewhere in Southeast London and went and looked through my drawer to see what was it.
Oh my God.
And so they interviewed me after 1 year. And again, I didn't hear. In the meantime, I've become deputy editor, focus on Africa. And after 6 months, they came again and said, "Ben, we want to give you the job at the UN." So now I've just been promoted after daring God with my faith. And now the United Nations is calling to say, "We want to give you a job." So that is another story. I just want to encourage somebody. We fall down, but we get up. Donnie McClelkin says,
Yes.
we fall down and we get up. And Mandela said something I put on my Facebook page. He's not an angel. He doesn't like people making him out to be an angel. He's not a saint. Unless you think of a saint as a sinner who keeps on trying. I leave it at that. Thank you. And I'm sorry I took your time.
No,
God bless you.
You, oh
Thank you.
my God, there is so many comments here. I am, you know how when you're so inundated with so many good comments, you don't even know which one to pick. I am so overwhelmed. Wow. Uncle Ben, you came for us today. And as you were speaking, I'm trying so hard to hold back my tears because I sat here last week, and as it was exactly a year last week, Tuesday, since we started this, project that, I don't know how God started it, but we started, and I was crying. And for the most part, it was gratitude, but also for the most part, it was, where do you go from here? It was both a high moment and a low moment. And you're sitting here almost like God sent you to come here and tell not only me, but all these amazing people that are watching us that you can be to be working at the BBC was a high moment in itself, period. And you can be at a high moment and at the same time a low moment without even being able to explain it. But you have come here to just teach me specifically, throw yourself at God. And this morning, you wouldn't even know it, but this morning I said, "What now, God?" I literally just woke up and that was the first thing I said. It's mundane, it's tiring. I don't know what else you want me to do. And you just gave me the answer, to throw myself more at God. If there is anything I took today, aside from the amazing Slay Queen stories, I think that's one of my highlights of this session we've had. The story about Mr. Lavoie, just all these amazing nuggets, and just connecting with people through language and word. I think just throwing ourselves at God will be the most amazing thing you've ever said. And the one nugget you really just threw out at us as though you were joking: always put on your coat of many colors.
Yeah.
What a powerful story. What a powerful time. I mean, I don't know what to tell you guys, but you need to go back and rewatch this and rewatch this. We need pens and papers and tablets so we can write these out. We need to hashtag them and take our own stories out of them, couch them, and then put them on our statuses. And please do not forget, do not plagiarize. You have to give Uncle Ben his due and say, "Uncle Ben taught you this." What an honor.
Just quickly, what you said about throw yourself at God, I want you to have this video image where you have a parent, a mother or a father. Maybe they are reprimanding a child. and the child is feeling being pushed out, they did something wrong, they are being disciplined. It's like that sometimes. Maybe we commit a sin, or we are not obeying God, not listening to the Holy Spirit, we are doubting God, and something bad happens, not
Mm.
because God did that. And I just want you to see this big figure standing there. Even if he disciplined you with a cane, instead of you running away, just think of yourself as a little child, and you go and hold onto the leg of your father or your mother, and I mean, that breaks the heart of the father. Instead of
Yes.
running away and saying, I'm no more going to church, I don't believe in God anymore, you throw yourself at God. Go and hold the left leg or the right leg and bind yourself around his leg. It's more difficult for a father to continue whipping you when you've come and embraced them and you've thrown yourself at them. You have nowhere else to go. So that is the image of throwing ourselves at God. God bless
God.
you. I've exhausted the time. You have
You have not. In fact, we had someone in the comment section going, "Can you please make this 2 hours?" She's
no,
Ralia
no.
says,
I
"Barker."
love your 30. I
I
really
know.
love your 30 minutes because
Yes.
I could do that and run away to work. Right
Yes,
now,
I
I'm
know.
sure I have
I
taken
know.
this time.
She was just
God
joking,
bless
obviously, but I wanted you to know just how much of an impact you've had.
you.
Normally, people would have been bored and signed off already, but you have just kept it coming, one firing shot after the other. And I just want to appreciate you so much, Uncle Ben. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
giving us your time.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for giving us, this is an investment that you've put into this project and indeed into me, because ever since I've met you, you have never said one negative thing to me about me, not one thing. And I don't even know how I got this lucky. I do believe God brought you here a week into our 1 year to give us a springboard to jump off of. And I am so glad it was you, Uncle Ben. Thank you.
There is a sister on Facebook who went and wrote, Uncle Ben would never hurt a fly. So I
I
went under the post and I told her, that is not true. I've been killing mosquitoes. I've killed many mosquitoes before. So if you go about saying nice things about me, and guess what? When I said, oh, I killed a mosquito, some very smart brother also came under the post and said, oh, a mosquito is an insect. It's not a fly. So you've never killed a fly. Look, we will if we continue
we
like
will continue talking, I know. But guys, hasn't this been an amazing time? Just amazing. It's such a laid back conversation filled with power and redemptive messages. I love the fact that Uncle Ben didn't come here to tell us that he's just successful by himself. He made sure to tell us where that success came from. He made sure to tell us he's failed before. I mean, who would have thought that Uncle Ben Dotsei Malor would actually be in a place where he thought, I am not doing anything? Can you even imagine that? That should tell you no matter how much, no matter where you go in this world, you would always think the grass is greener somewhere else. And if you don't have God, if you don't have that left leg or right leg on which you can latch on and just be like, I need to be here, God, and I'm not letting go until either you teach me a lesson or you bless me. Life will be a very difficult road to navigate without such a thing. And Uncle Ben came here to tell us that. I want to thank you, Uncle Ben, once again. God bless you so much. We're gonna organize a trip, definitely between SETI. We're gonna tell that story of how both SETINAM and also Elsie on one day. I believe by the unction of the Holy Spirit, both of them being line producers in the background, reaching out to Uncle Ben on the same day within 15 minutes of each other, saying, Uncle Ben, can you come on a show that tells stories? And immediately Uncle Ben said, yes, because two of my favorite girls asked. Let me tell you, I thank you. I appreciate all of you, everyone that was here. Auntie Bole, in fact, you just fed me for 2 days straight with Banku and Shito and Kenke and gave me a bed to sleep in and just encouraged me and prayed with me. Every one of you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of this journey. We don't know where God is taking us, but He's in it, and that's all that matters. I appreciate you, Uncle Ben. I always give our guest the last word. So just tell us one last thing as we close.
Romans chapter 8, verse 28, one of my favorite get out of jail card scriptures. For we know
Mm,
that all things work together for good
mm.
for those who love God and are called according to his purpose.
Wow.
So may all things work together for good for you, Zoe, and for everybody watching or
Mm,
listening. All things mean the good, the bad, the ugly, even Joseph being thrown into the pit, but there is a purpose behind it. That's another story. If I go there now, we'll be here for another 2 hours. So may all things, wherever you are now in life, my prayer, my wish, my desire is may all things work together for your good. Amen. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you guys so much. We're going to sign off so Uncle Ben can go do important work for us. He's always working for us. God bless you guys. I love you
Thank
from
you.
our makeshift studio in our part of New York. Thank you. God bless you. My name is Zoe Baraka once again, and I'll see you next week. Bye from myself and Uncle Ben. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.